Indian government is openly hostile to Islam. It doesn't hide its hostility. And the Indian government is in an open strategic alliance with Israel. It doesn't hide it. No. At least it is honest about this. And the Indian government is moving forward. Some may say cunningly, I say intelligently. Oh yes, they are my enemy, but I recognize that they are functioning intelligently, and they're formulating their plans and strategies intelligently, and they're moving ahead. Yes. And so after 73 years of static, no movement, suddenly Kashmir is thrown out into the bamboo. So let us begin with Allah's blessed name. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in Surah Al-Hajj, and He says, فَعَلَكُمْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ Will they not travel to the earth? فتكون لهم قلوب يعقلون بها أو آذان يسمعون بها فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور صدق الله العظيم. Will they not travel through the earth? Perchance that by traveling through the earth their dead heart, sleeping heart might come alive. فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ It's not these eyes which are blind. وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ What is blind is the heart inside the chest. The internal blindness indicates no spirituality. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a warning. He says, مَنْ كَانَ فِي هَذِهِ أَعْمَى Whosoever is blind here in this world, فَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ أَعْمَى He'll be blind in the next world as well. وَأَضَلَّ السَّبِيلِ And even more misguided. And what's the punishment for internal blindness? Again he speaks and he says, وَلَقَدْ زَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ Huge numbers are now heading for the hellfire. لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا They have hearts and are incapable of using their hearts for acquiring knowledge and understanding. وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا And they have eyes and yet cannot see. وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا And they have ears and yet cannot hear the cries of the oppressed. أُولَئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ Such people who do not have spirituality, who do not have the capacity for internal sight, they are just like cattle. بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. Rather, they are more misguided than cattle. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. These are the ones who are heedless. Here are three. Here are three ayat of the Quran which deliver a powerful message of warning to us. And that's enough, I need not elaborate on it. And then we turn to the surah of internal insight. You call it Surah Chahya, Surah An-Nur. And in Surah An-Nur, there is an ayah called Ayatun Nur. And that ayah delivers to you the methodology for the acquisition of Nur. But that's not our subject tonight. At the end of the ayah, Allah speaks of Nurun ala Nur. And how does he end the ayah? Wallahu bi kulli shay'in alim. And so spirituality is not for working karamat, miracles, extraordinary events. No. The purpose of spirituality, as given in this verse of the Quran, is linked with knowledge, the capacity to understand. This acquisition of knowledge takes a turn in Akhiru Zaman. Akhiru Zaman is different from the rest of history. And spirituality has a strategic role to play in Akhiru Zaman. The most learned of all men is not the graduate of the Darul Uloom. No. So Musa alayhi salam says, I want to meet the most learned of all men. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you'll meet him at Majma'ul Bahrain, the place where the two oceans meet. And this is not muhkam, it is mutashabiha. This is not something to be explained with tafsir. This is something which has to be interpreted, ta'weel. And so it's not Atlantic and Pacific. It is the ocean of knowledge, externally acquired. So you got to burn the midnight oil. If you don't plant, you cannot reap. That law is valid for all people except one. Who is he? The banker. He's the only one who reaps without planting. Why? Because he's reaping what the donkeys are planting. So if you do not plant, you cannot reap. So there is a world of knowledge that is externally acquired. And you're not going to get that knowledge served for you on a plate. You got to work for it. You got to struggle. But there is another world of knowledge that modern Western civilization refuses to accept. And I'm talking about, therefore, all the universities of the world today with their secularized system of education. There is another world of knowledge other than one which is externally acquired. And that is a world of knowledge which is internally received. And when these two worlds of knowledge listen to the words, when these two worlds of knowledge are harmoniously integrated with each other, then you have the learned one, capable of understanding the world in Akhir Zaman. I don't know any politician who qualifies. I don't know any bureaucrat who qualifies. I don't know any academic, secularized academic, who qualifies. And yet these are the people who control our affairs. They have eyes and yet cannot see. This Majma'ul Bahrain, or when the two oceans meet and are harmoniously integrated with each other, produces the man par excellence of spirituality. And he is Khidr alayhi salam. And so if you want to build a Darul Ulum, producing the ulama who have a chance of succeeding in Akhir Zaman, you need to follow Khidr alayhi salam. He is someone who got the name Khidr because he came to a land which was barren. And when he sat down, everything became green. And so his knowledge is not mechanical, repeated again and again and again and again for 50, 60, 80 years. He's not the product of a Maulana or Ustaz factory. No. He is someone whose knowledge is as fresh as the raindrops falling from the sky. And when he speaks, his words reach the heart and changes the lives of people. The Christians have a term, they call it born-again Christian. Born again, yeah. It is as though he's brought you back to life with his words. Because these are not mere words. No. These are like raindrops falling from the sky. This is Khidr alayhi salam. When you have that internal insight, that internal intuitive spiritual insight, you are then capable of studying the whole Quran. And if you believe that this ummah can be taken out of the mess in which it is today, other than through the Quran, you're dreaming. Only the Quran can take us out of the situation in which we are today. And if you cannot access one half of the Quran, what good are you as a scholar? There is one part of the Quran which is known as ayat muhkamat, and everybody can access that, plain and clear. But Allah in His wisdom gave us another part of the Quran which cannot be accessed except with spirituality. And if you are to understand Akhirul Zaman, it is that part in particular you have to benefit. And if you are to respond to the challenges and the dangers of Akhirul Zaman, it is that part. A simple ayah. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ Allah speaks with only a few words. And they question thee about the moon, when it is born, it's a baby, a new moon, a crescent moon. And they question thee about the hilal. Kul hiya mawaqitu linnas. That hilal represents a system of time, of sacred time, and you better not depart from that system of sacred time, not just the measurement of time, but living with it. Kul hiya mawaqitu linnas. What happens when we are negligent of living with the moon? Should I tell you? He said, time will move faster and faster, to such an extent that the whole year will pass, and a whole month will pass like a week, and a whole week will pass like a day, and the whole day will pass like an hour. The whole hour will pass like the amount of time it takes to kindle a fire. So if you have the perception that time is moving faster and faster for you, I have a message for you. You're in plenty of trouble. I have a message for you. You are in plenty of trouble. Why? Because you have abandoned the system of time ordained by Allah. This is just one ayah of the Quran. And if you want to recover that system of time, which when you live with it, this will disappear. A year will pass like a year, and a month will pass like a month, and a week will pass like a week. Yes, you will live a different life. It is the Quran that will bring you back to that system of time, because you have to recite the whole Quran once a moon. Once a moon you recite. So you'll know that the 4th day of the month is now finished, and tonight is the 5th day of the month. And Dajjal's secularized world of time, out of the window. This is one of the prices that we'll pay when we do not have spirituality. We lack the capacity to even understand what are the implications of time moving faster and faster. As time moves faster and faster, our capacity to think becomes less and less. We don't have time to think anymore. As time moves faster and faster, you lose silence. You begin to live in a world which is more and more noisy, because you are gravitated towards the center, towards the cities. And peace and quiet and silence is in kampung, in the remote countryside. But as you live and you are seduced into the fast lane of life, you can't live in kampung anymore. You die. If I go back to live in kampung, I'll go crazy. They'll have to send me in a hospital. So you're in plenty trouble when you lack spirituality. This is not the only reason why we need spirituality. It is strategically important. Why we need to see with 2 eyes. Dajjal sees with 1. You know that. Dajjal sees with 1 because he's internally blind. But your Lord is not one-eyed. The other reason why we need spirituality in Akhirul Zaman is because Dajjal comes with two things, a river and a fire. But his river is a fire, and his fire is the cool waters of a river. And so, listen to the words, appearance and reality are often opposite to each other. And if judgment is made on the basis of an examination of the external form of things, you can be wrong, as Musa was wrong, alayhi salam. He was wrong with the boat, he was wrong with the boy, he was wrong with the wall. Which surah? Which surah? Surah Al-Kahf. And who was correct? Khidr alayhi salam, the one who had internal insight. This is the ta'weel, he said to Musa, of that which you could not understand. This is the ta'weel. This is the interpretation of the events. That this is why I did what I did to the boat. This is why I did what I did to the boy and what I did to the wall. And so if you lack spirituality and you make judgment based on the external form of things, you can be wrong, as he was wrong 3 times. When we apply this is enough for the first part of the topic. When we apply this now, and we turn to Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how did he apply spirituality? Spirituality for him was not sitting down in the corner and making zikr. That has its benefit, but that is not the heart of spirituality. No, that has its benefit, but that's just a step on the way. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam has to deal with the dunya as we have to deal with the dunya. And if you want to deal successfully with the dunya, you need spirituality, which is what politicians don't have. I'm talking about political affairs, about the economy, about money, about strategic affairs, about military affairs. These are all part and parcel of living in this dunya. And we have made the hijrah to Medina, and now we have a little bit of safety. But Makkah is biting their fingernails with frustration that we have escaped from them. And Makkah wants to come after us. So we don't have much time to prepare. But when we reached Medina, after 17 months in Medina, it became plain and clear that the Jews have rejected Nabi Muhammad ﷺ and rejected the Quran and are now plotting and planning our destruction. And so we acted decisively when they violated their agreement with us. And we expelled them from Medina, and they went to Khaybar. And over there in Khaybar, they're biting their fingernails in anger. They are our mortal enemies. So we have enemies to the northwest, and we have enemies to the south, and we in the middle. The Jews are now attempting to form an alliance with Mecca. And if they succeed in that alliance, that's it, we're finished. We are sandwiched. This is called the strategic environment. And Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is a political leader here. And he has to examine the world around him with insight, spiritual insight. And he has to be able to formulate plans with which to be able to change the environment and make it less dangerous for him. I see only one leader in the world today doing that. Only one. And that is Putin, President Putin of Russia. But of course my Salafi critics don't agree with me. They only have two words to say, Putin this and Putin that and Assad this and Assad that. Doing nothing. With his feet frozen in concrete. For how long? Pakistan was born in 1947. The Kashmir problem began in 1947. And this is 2019. How many years? 53, 63, 73, 72 years. For 72 years with your feet in concrete and no initiative to try to change the strategic environment, to make it more favorable for you, until after 73 years Modi comes and hit you for a six in the bamboo. You play cricket? Yeah. The Indian government is openly hostile to Islam. It doesn't hide its hostility. And the Indian government is in an open strategic alliance with Israel. It doesn't hide it. No. At least it is honest about this. And the Indian government is moving forward. Some may say cunningly, I say intelligently. Oh yes, they are my enemy. But I recognize that they are functioning intelligently. And they're formulating their plans and strategies intelligently. And they're moving ahead. Yes. And so, after 73 years of static, no movement, suddenly Kashmir is thrown out into the bamboo. No, Nabi Muhammad ﷺ would not do that. He has to prevent an alliance of the Jews in Khaybar with the mushrikeen of Mecca. How to do it? He is at war with Mecca, and yet he embarks on a peace offensive. He says, I'm going to perform the Umrah. The whole of Arabia recognizes I have the right to perform the Umrah. And the Quraysh have no right to prevent me from performing the Umrah. So he has embarked upon a very sensible and intelligent peace offensive. But if the Quraysh allows him to enter into Mecca and perform the Umrah while he's at war with them, all of Arabia will sit down and laugh and laugh and laugh. It would be a loss of faith for the Quraysh. So what he did was to put them on the horns of a dilemma. They can't do this, they can't do that. And when he set off from Medina, from Mecca, The Quraysh realized this is trouble. We have to prevent him from reaching the area where it's haram. So they sent Khalid bin Walid with 200 horsemen. But we took deviations and we were able to elude them. And we reached Hudaybiyah. They cannot attack us in Hudaybiyah. We are in safe territory. So Nabi Muhammad ﷺ succeeded in forcing the enemy to the negotiating table. MashaAllah. What a man. What a leader. And when he forced them to the negotiating table, he realized that they needed something for saving their face. So they said, okay, this year, Tabori, go back. Next year you can come. We said, no problem. This year we'll go back, next year we'll come. They said, make all your Qurban right here in Hudaybiyah. We said, no problem, we make the Qurban. Nobody wanted to make Qurban because this was never done ever in history. It had to be done there in Makkah. So then one of the wives of the Prophet said, you take the knife and cut. And then he made the first Qurban. They said, any of our slaves who leave Makkah and go to join you in Medina, send them back. But any from there who come to us, we don't send them back. We said, no problem. No problem. Why? Because there is a difference between baras and nasi. Baras is the rice with the husk. And nasi is the rice without the husk. So what is the husk? Baras? Paddy. Okay. There's a difference in diplomacy between the paddy and the nasi. That is just paddy. This is nasi. Because they had to agree no war. So that when he enters into Makkah, there will be no war. We're not at war with him, so nobody would laugh. So they said, was it 10 years? 10 years. We said, no problem. If they said 5, we'll accept the 5. We got what we wanted. Our objective is to deal with the more dangerous of the two enemies. We cannot attack Khaybar while we are still at war with Makkah. Because if we leave Medina to attack Khaybar, Makkah will come and take Medina. See? Nor can we leave Medina to attack Makkah, because if we do that, Khaybar will come and take Medina. But if Khaybar comes to take Medina when we have gone to Allah's house, all of Arabia will come and slaughter Khaybar. The whole of Arabia will combine to go and slaughter Khaybar. These people have gone on pilgrimage when you come to capture the city. See? So when Makkah offered 10 years, we said, thank you very much. That's what we wanted. And then we left and we went back. And do you know what happened when we went back? When you engage in strategic planning, you don't make everything public. I cannot reveal what are my strategic plans for Kashmir. No. I will give you part of it, but the other part I can't make public. No. So Nabi Muhammad is silent. We return to Medina. He says nothing. We spend 2 weeks in Medina. He says nothing. And then suddenly he gives the order. We're marching on Khaybar. And he gave orders, horsemen to go to all the roads around Medina to intercept anyone coming out, to check that no news to leave. And they were able to intercept someone with a letter who was sending a message to warn Khaybar that the attack was coming. And we caught that man and we caught the letter. Yes, this is the leader who has planning. So when we attacked Khaybar knew nothing of the attack. It came as a surprise to them. They came out in the morning to go to their fields, and they saw Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and his army. It was a surprise, absolute surprise. On that day Makkah fell, it's just a matter of time. Have you understood that? The strategic implications of the fall of Khaybar was that Makkah had been outmaneuvered. They could not attack Medina while we were in Khaybar because they had a peace treaty with us. And they gave us the opportunity to be able to attack Khaybar and eliminate Khaybar. So on the day that Khaybar fell, Makkah fell, it's just a matter of time. The Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam used spiritual insight in his strategic planning. So spirituality is not for performing miracles. Spirituality is not for people to say, wow, what a great sheikh he is. Spirituality is for application in the life of this world, in the affairs of this world. And Nabi Muhammad ﷺ gave a wonderful application of spirituality in the events which led to the conquest of Makkah. I have cut it short for you. Now let us turn. If we had applied spirituality to the world today, this ummah, understanding that Dajjal is the one who is in control of the world today, then we would have been able, using insight, to recognize that the Ottoman Empire and the Mughal Empire were sisters. The Ottoman Empire played Dajjal's game for him. They served the interests of Dajjal, like Saudi Arabia is doing today, but Imran Khan doesn't understand that. The Ottoman Empire functioned essentially for sabotage. What is the Bahasa word for sabotage? Huh? Give me the Bahasa word. Sabotage. Oh, no. You use sabotage in Bahasa? Huh? Ayana? Khiyanat. Khiyanat is deception. Khiyanat is an Arabic word, deception. No, this is sabotage. Huh? All right, go back to school and learn your Bahasa. We are destined in the end time to have friendly relations with part of the Christian world, because they are the ones who are going to be closest in love and affection for us. Who said that? The Quran, yes, the Quran. Which surah? Al-Ma'idah. Al-Ma'idah. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. And the Quran further refines it and identifies them as Rum, and the whole surah of the Quran is entitled Surah Al-Rum. And we know their city was وَاسْأَلْهُمْ عن القرية التي كانت حاضرة البحر. It was Constantinople. I have a book outside. Perhaps for the first time someone has written a book on Constantinople in the Quran. It's outside, small book. And so we are destined to have friendship and alliance in Akhir Zaman with Rome. And Rome is going to be closest in love and affection for us. Rome today are the Orthodox Christians, where a man cannot marry another man and get a marriage certificate. If you say that Rome is the Yankee Rome, and the French Rome and the Western Rome, where a man could marry another man and get a marriage certificate, you are more misguided than the donkey. Donkeys are not misguided, incidentally. And so, what the Ottoman Empire did was to wage 600 years of bogus jihad on these people. The very people with whom we are destined to have friendship and alliance. And bogus jihad on these people to inject into them hatred for Islam. This is called sabotage. If you have spiritual insight, you would recognize the role of the Ottoman Empire, and you will take action, formulate strategy to be able to erase those efforts at sabotage, which is what I did with the Orthodox Christian world. But I had the hadith to help me, that you will conquer Constantinople. And I interpreted that the conquest of Constantinople in Akhir Zaman is first of all to return Hagia Sophia to the Orthodox Christian world. And when we return that cathedral to them and we apologize to them for what the Ottomans did, that will clear the way for the reconciliation and friendship and alliance. But it has already started with the Orthodox Christian world. If we had spiritual insight, 400 million Muslims in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, if we had spiritual insight, we would recognize that the Mughal Empire played the same role as the Ottoman Empire. To sabotage our relations with the Hindu world. And in the same way that the Ottomans took Hagia Sophia, which was at the heart of the Christian world, to plunge a dagger into their hearts that will last forever. The blood will continue to. The Mughals did the same thing with Babri Masjid. Yes, it is not a matter of any importance at all to us whether there is any evidence that someone called Ram was born in Babri. That is irrelevant to us. But it is awfully relevant to 400 million Muslims in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? What is important to us is that this is in the religious consciousness of the Hindu. He believes that his god Ram was born in Babri. Yes, it's always been that. And so when you come and you take that spot out of the whole of India, this is the spot you choose and you build a masjid. That's what the Mughal Empire did. The Mughal Empire is following in the footsteps of the Ottoman Empire to plant a dagger in the heart of the Hindu world that will cause eternal hatred for Islam. And then, not only did the Ottomans rule over them for 400, 500, 600 years, the Mughals, the Muslims, ruled over the Hindus for about 800 years. And this has caused hatred in the hearts of the Hindus for Islam. If I were an Orthodox Christian and I had suffered under the Ottomans and I did not know what the Quran says, that the Ottomans violated the Allah's law in the Quran, and I would hate Islam. But if you come to me and teach me that Allah's law says this and the Ottomans did that, then I know that I can't blame Islam. If I were a Hindu and I had to suffer with this indignity that the Muslims came and ruled over my people for 800 years, I never invited them. They came to rule over me by the point of a sword from Afghanistan. And they took the birthplace of Ram to build a masjid. Then, unless you can come to me and show me this is not Islam, I would hate Islam. And so the solution to the problem of Kashmir does not lie in making a deal with Trump. That yes, we will help you to get out of Afghanistan after we supported you for 14 years to kill our brothers in Afghanistan in return for US dollars. After we supported you, we fought America's war for America. This is what Imran Khan said. We fought America's war for America for 14 years. And in return we got US dollars. We will now help you to get out of Afghanistan, provided you, this is the quid pro quo, you help us with Kashmir. No. People with spiritual insight don't go and negotiate with Shaitan. The Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran would never make a deal with the United States like that. No. Putin wouldn't make such a deal. Putin is too much of a gentleman to make such a deal. Pakistan was trying to make with Trump. And again, not only that, I wouldn't travel to Washington as what he did. No. It's a silly mistake on his part. And I feel sad really to use this language for Imran Khan, because I consider him to be better than the rotten politicians who came before him. But it's clear that he is making mistakes. But then these are also the mistakes that everyone made before him. If we are to apply the strategic sunnah to Kashmir. What part of that strategic sunnah can we make public? Strategy. There is one part of the strategy we cannot, of course, make public. But there is a part that we can make public. The first step on the way, which is now perhaps too late after what Modi has just done, the first step on the way was for Pakistan and the Muslims of India and the Muslims of Bangladesh to declare that Muslim rule over India was in conflict with the Quran. That's right. That it was Islamic imperialism, and we denounce it. The Hindu world would be surprised to hear that. And there are many Hindus whose hearts have not as yet been totally corrupted with hatred for Islam, who would welcome hearing from the Muslims their denunciation of Muslim rule over India. That is the first step of the strategic sunnah. The second step of the strategic sunnah is for the Muslims to not only denounce Muslim rule over Hindu India, but also to give up any claims to Babri. India is a big country. We don't ask of you to give us another plot of land where we can build a masjid. No. Out of respect for the religious sentiments of the Hindu people who believe that Ram was born in Babri, we voluntarily give up any claim to Babri. Does that make sense? Do you think there's any Muslim in those 400 million in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh will ever believe in that? That's where you have to look for Islamic spirituality. There is something more we can say in this strategic sunnah. The religious way of life requires that we should have correct beliefs. We should declare that there is a God and He is one God. That we must believe in the angels, that we must live in the life hereafter, akhirah and so on. But if we have correct beliefs, but we do not have correct conduct, Allah says, but your religion is worth nothing. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِدِينِ. This is very, very, very strong language. يُكَذِّبُ, you're lying, says Allah. You're lying if you say you have deen. No. When you are harsh with the orphan and you do not feed the poor and needy. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمَ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. In other words, the right conduct is as much a part of the deen as right beliefs. And so when you find someone with right conduct, stop where you are. Do some investigation. How could this man have right conduct? When he gives his word, he keeps his word. He never cheats anyone. He never lies. He is charitable. He's kind. He does not violate the rights of others. From where did this man get this righteous conduct? Answer, there must be something in his beliefs. which has led him to righteous conduct. So yes, he may be worshipping idols, but so long as this man is not hostile to me, does not reject the deen, reject Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, reject the Quran and is an open enemy of mine, so long he is not a kafir, I have a duty to go and search to see what is it that produces righteous conduct. And when I find in the Buddhist, I find that Gautama Buddha gave him this righteous conduct. And I find in the Vedas, the Hindu Vedas, that the Vedas are the foundation of honesty in politics, honesty in business. Then I say, this is a remnant of truth. And one of the functions of the Quran is Muhayminun Ali, to protect whatever remains of the truth in the world. And so I have a duty now to show respect for the Hindu faith, to show respect for the Buddhist faith. So long as the Buddhist is not in alliance with Israel, waiting to cut my throat, which case he's a kafir, he's my enemy. That other Buddhist who is not like that, that other Hindu who is not like that, I have a duty to reach out to him and show respect for his religion. Have India and Pakistan and Bangladesh Muslims ever attempted to do that? If you show respect for the Hindu religion, and if you say that this religion could not have produced righteous people unless there was some truth in it, if you show respect for them, it is possible for you to change the hearts of Hindus the way the hearts of Orthodox Christians are now being changed. This is an application. I have mentioned three things. I have mentioned Islamic imperialism, to denounce it. I've mentioned Babri Masjid, we have no claim to it. And I've mentioned showing respect for the Hindu faith. This is enough already, a substantial initiative which would begin to change the hearts of many Hindus. But because we did nothing, we sat down with our feet in concrete for 70-something years, Modi has now succeeded in uniting the whole of India behind him. What's his next step? We can anticipate his next step. He doesn't want a nuclear war with Pakistan, because a nuclear war will be mutually destructive. So he might probably, on a Sunday morning, offer to Pakistan that we promise we will not be the first to use nuclear weapons, if you will make the same promise. And if Pakistan is deaf, dumb and blind, they will accept it. And that's what he wants, a conventional war, not a nuclear war. In a conventional war, India will defeat Pakistan anyway. Because Pakistan has given up on nuclear deterrence. What does he need a conventional war for? His attack on Kashmir is not merely an attack on Islam. It's more than that. It's an attack on China. China is now posing a serious problem for the West. The Chinese Belt and Road Initiative to take Chinese manufactured products to Europe and oil from the Middle East straight to China through the Pakistani port of Wada. This is a very serious challenge to the West, and they don't have any response for it. So what did they do? The Road and Belt Initiative needs the Karakoram Highway built from Pakistan to Kashmir in China. It passes through the Uyghur Muslim community. So number one, you throw some petrol and you light the fire to get the Uyghur Muslims up in arms against China in order to sabotage the Road and Belt Initiative. Number two, and vastly more dangerous, India needs a quick war, not a prolonged war, to seize that part of Kashmir which is under Pakistani control. India will claim this is our territory. We have taken part of Kashmir, it's now under our control now. We need the other part. So a lightning war to take that part of Kashmir under Pakistan control at this time. And once India takes that, the road and belt is finished. Why? Because the Road and Belt Initiative uses the Karakoram Highway, which was built over 20 years, and which passes through Pakistani part of the Kashmir territory. So the Indian government is moving forward with intelligent, strategic planning. You have to admire it. Yes. And our response is our feet in concrete, depending on the United Nations Security Council resolutions and a man named Donald Trump. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may wake up this ummah. Number one, to the importance, the strategic importance of Islamic spirituality. And number two, for understanding the application of Islamic spirituality in the strategic planning and thinking and operations of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and the strategic sunnah. And I've delivered a lecture on the strategic sunnah. And number three, in applying that to our contemporary problems that we have, of which Kashmir is one of them. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين. Nabi Khidr connected with Waliullah. Neither the Quran nor Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam give us any information about Khidr alayhi salam other than what I've conveyed to you in my lectures and books. Yeah. I don't have any further knowledge of the subject other than this. So don't ask me whether he was a Nabi. No, because the knowledge is not there to answer that question. Yeah.
Can we, let's say we as Muslims, go to Wall Street and claim cash highs from them to depict the money and take gold? Is it permissible in Islam?
Explain the question to me.
Let's say we as Muslims.
No, you already asked the question. Can you explain it to me? Oh, you were sitting next to him.
Okay, we...
Come.
We as a Muslim, we invest in the Wall Street,
Yeah.
we gain more money, and then we use that money to fight against this America.
You could invest in any halal investment. You can invest in any halal investment. But I don't know whether you can get halal investments in Wall Street. And that's not my area of expertise. When you make money in business, you can use that money in the way of Allah for the promotion of truth and for truth to triumph in the world. Yes. What you do not do, and we have never done this in our civilization, is to use business or trade as a weapon. No. We're not that stupid, and we're not that vile to use trade and business as a weapon to impose economic sanctions on people. Only the children of Shaitan, only the children of Shaitan will use trade and business as a weapon against Venezuela, to use trade and business as a weapon against Iran. And only the children of Dajjal will obey the United States. When the United States said, don't buy Iran's oil, and all the children of Dajjal will put their feet on the line and say, yes, Master, we listen and we obey. Sami'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey when Washington speaks. MashaAllah for Iran. MashaAllah for Iran. They've shown fearlessness in the response of economic boycott and economic sanctions. And now they're coming with a maritime blockade. They want to enforce or impose a maritime blockade of Venezuela and Iran. That's how wicked these people are. But they plan their plans and Allah plans His plans. If I had the time tonight, I could have told you. If I had the spiritual insight that I should have had, and had I been able to connect the dots of history earlier in my life, I would have a different view of the Soviet Union from what I now have, and a different view of Mao Zedong's China from what I now have. But I don't have the time to spend that on that topic tonight. Yeah.
Particular ayat from the Quran or hadith stating that it is wrong to make economical embargo?
لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم. Is it Surah An-Nisa? Any hafiz of the Quran? Surah An-Nisa, okay. Don't give the ayah number. Let them do that, that's the homework. Just give them the name of the surah. Do not consume each other's wealth unjustly. Rather, let business and trade be conducted in a manner which ensures mutual satisfaction. I benefit and you benefit. That's business and trade. Any more questions? Yeah.
Coming back to Kashmir, where do you think Russia should be more safe? Because Russia is also a very close defense, has a very close defense pact with India for a very long time. And at the same time, they also been friendly to Muslims now. So where do they think?
What do you?
I think
I can't understand because you have the microphone too close to your mouth and the sound is not coming. And I have to, even with the hearing aids, they probably wouldn't be able. Come forward, yeah.
Where would Russia fit in this whole Kashmir thing?
Where will Russia begin?
No, fit in.
Fit
this
in.
whole crisis thing, because they are also very close with India, and they are also making very friendly gestures to Muslim now. Where do they fit in?
Where does Russia fit in? Meaning, what is the role that Russia will play? The most momentous event to have occurred in international affairs since the birth of modern Western civilization is the return of Russia to its Orthodox Christian roots and the phenomenal rise of Russia from a feudal society and an agrarian economy to a scientifically and technologically advanced country, largely due to the role of the Soviet Union, which I did not realize. To the extent that Russia is today the dominant military power in the world. And the same thing happening with China under Mao Zedong. The phenomenal rise of China, the transformation of China under Mao Zedong, Communist rule, to deliver a China today which is scientifically and technologically so advanced that it is on par with the Soviet Union, with Russia as a superpower, except that Russia is the dominant military power in the world today. But in addition to that, not only did the Soviet Union deceive the West, and deceive me as well, but China also deceived the West. And the West is still shattered, they don't know what happened. That the Chinese used their opportunity to build the world's biggest economy. Biggest economy. And the most significant event to have occurred in international affairs since the birth of modern Western civilization is the alliance between this Russia and this China. India doesn't have any place in that. India doesn't stand in the way of that alliance between China and Russia. And so if China speaks on a subject forcefully, Russia stands with China. India would just simply have to bite their fingernails, because India cannot stand up to an alliance of Russia and China. And that is why India has to be careful. India does not want a nuclear war with Pakistan. So India will want a conventional war. And they would get a conventional war if the Pakistanis are stupid enough to respond to say no first use of nuclear weapons. Once there is the road to a conventional war, the Indian planning would be a lightning move to snatch and seize that part of Kashmir through which the Karakoram highway passes, and goodbye to road and belt. Finish. I think this is not only Indian planning, but Israeli planning.
Maybe we take last questions. Last questions.
Don't forget the microphone, just come here and tell me.
In the Akhir Zaman, there will be two teams. Two teams that bring two flags, one black and one white. One black flag and one the white flag.
One black.
The rope is the one of the people who bring the flag. the army of Imam Mahdi? And the second question is, will the Rome, this hadith that the Rome people will betray the Muslim, that will there also be that?
Okay, a question concerning flags in Akhir al-Zaman, black flag and red flag, and I'm not in a position to respond to that question now. There are many hadiths of Akhir al-Zaman, and you do not hear me quoting, because I don't want to quote a hadith until I've made an assessment that it is in harmony with the Quran. The other hadith, the other question pertains to an alliance with Rome. And the hadith says that the Christians will betray us and then wage war on us. Okay? Rome. You have to judge the hadith with the Quran. We will not make an alliance with the Christian people other than those about whom Allah says in the Quran that they will be closest in love and affection for you. If one Muslim kills a Christian and the whole Christian army then turns against the Muslim, then the Quran is wrong. The Quran is wrong. Yes, the Quran is wrong. Can the Quran be wrong? The Quran said these are the people who are closest in love and affection for you. That would be a false statement if the hadith is correct. Let me repeat it. The hadith says one Muslim kill a Christian and the whole Christian army then turn on the Muslims to fight upon them. That's what the hadith says. The hadith, the Quran says these are going to be the closest in love and affection for you. If this hadith is correct, the Quran is wrong. Do I need to continue? Do I need to continue? If this hadith is correct, then the Quran is wrong. Do I need to continue, or have you understood? Do I need to continue, or have you understood? If this hadith is valid, then the Quran is wrong. Shall I repeat it one last time? Do I need to continue, or have you understood it yet?